In the small village of Kurohana, nestled at the edge of an ominous forest, tales of the dark forest's horrors circulated among the villagers. They spoke of shadowy figures that roamed beneath the twisted branches, and of a legendary ninja, who was said to protect the realm from the evils lurking within. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the village, a young girl named Aiko sat by the village well. Her heart ached with worry for her older brother, Kenji, who had vanished while exploring the forest weeks earlier. Desperate for answers, Aiko resolved to venture into the dark forest, despite the warnings. The following morning, armed with her mother's dagger and a small satchel of supplies, Aiko approached the forest's edge. The trees loomed like ancient giants, their branches interlocking overhead to form a canopy that swallowed the light. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the darkness. As she ventured deeper, the atmosphere shifted. The air was thick with an eerie stillness, broken only by the rustling of leaves and the occasional distant howl. Aiko felt an unsettling presence, as if the forest itself was alive, watching her every move. Suddenly, a chilling whisper echoed around her. "Turn back." The voice seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Aiko's heart raced, but she pressed on, fueled by the hope of finding Kenji. After what felt like hours of navigating the maze of trees, Aiko stumbled upon a clearing bathed in dim light. In the center stood a small shrine, overgrown with moss and vines. A flicker of movement caught her eye, and she turned to see a cloaked figure emerging from the shadows, a ninja, his face obscured by a mask. "Why have you come here, girl?" he asked, his voice calm yet firm. "I'm searching for my brother," Aiko replied, her voice steady despite her fear. "He disappeared in this forest." The ninja regarded her with a piercing gaze. "Many have sought what you seek. The forest is treacherous. If you wish to find him, you must prove your courage." Without hesitation, Aiko nodded. "I will do whatever it takes." "Very well," the ninja said, stepping aside to reveal a narrow path leading deeper into the forest. "But beware. The darkness will test you." Aiko followed the ninja, her heart pounding in anticipation. They traversed through twisted paths and thickets, encountering strange creatures and ominous sounds. Each step deeper into the forest felt like a step into the unknown, where reality blurred with nightmare. As twilight descended, the air grew colder, and shadows stretched unnaturally. Aiko's resolve wavered, but the thought of Kenji pushed her forward. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the darkness, freezing her in place. The ninja stood ready, his hand on the hilt of his sword. "Stay close to me," he instructed, eyes scanning the surrounding gloom. From the shadows, a massive wolf emerged, its eyes glowing like embers. Aiko's breath caught in her throat. The ninja drew his weapon, ready for battle. The massive wolf lunged, its jaws snapping inches from Aiko. In a flash, the ninja moved, blocking the beast with a swift stroke of his blade. The sound of steel meeting fangs rang out, and Aiko felt a surge of adrenaline. "Focus," the ninja shouted, his eyes never leaving the creature. "Use your instincts." As the wolf recoiled, Aiko took a deep breath, channeling her fear into resolve. She remembered her training. Her mother had taught her to be quick and agile. Gripping her dagger tightly, she sidestepped the ninja and positioned herself behind the beast. With a swift motion, she thrust her dagger toward the wolf's flank. The blade met fur, and the wolf howled in pain. Seizing the moment, the ninja struck with precision, his sword cutting through the air to deliver a final blow. The wolf collapsed, its body sinking into the forest floor. Breathing heavily, Aiko and the ninja stood over it, the stillness returning to the clearing. "You have potential," the ninja said, sheathing his sword. "But this forest is filled with greater threats. We must keep moving." Aiko nodded, her heart still racing. "Thank you. But what do we do next?" "Follow me," he instructed, gesturing toward a narrow path that twisted deeper into the forest. "We must reach the Temple of Shadows before nightfall. There, you may find clues about your brother. As they navigated the winding trails, the forest seemed to come alive around them. Dark shapes flitted between the trees, and the air hummed with a strange energy. Aiko felt the weight of the forest's secrets pressing down, but she pressed on, fueled by her determination. Finally, they arrived at a clearing where the ancient Temple of Shadows loomed. Its crumbling stone walls were entwined with vines, and an aura of mystery surrounded it. The ninja motioned for silence, and they approached cautiously. Inside, the temple was dark, with only a few shafts of light filtering through cracks in the stone. Aiko's heart pounded as they moved deeper, the air thick with an otherworldly presence. "Look for symbols," the ninja whispered. "They might reveal where your brother is." As they searched the chamber, Aiko noticed markings on the walls, symbols of protection, intertwined with darker sigils that sent a shiver down her spine. "What do they mean?" she asked. "The light and the dark are in constant battle here," he replied. "Your brother may have been drawn into this struggle. We must find a way to uncover his fate." Just then, a low growl echoed through the temple, reverberating off the stone walls. Aiko and the ninja turned, readying themselves for another confrontation. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, an ominous guardian of the temple. "Who dares disturb the sanctuary?" it boomed, voice echoing like thunder. Aiko felt a surge of fear, but stood firm beside the ninja. "I seek my brother," she shouted, surprising even herself. "What have you done with him?" The guardian's eyes glowed fiercely. "To tread these grounds is to face the consequences of the past. If you wish to find him, you must first defeat me." The ninja turned to Aiko. "Stay close. We fight together." As the guardian lunged forward, Aiko's instincts kicked in. She moved with agility, dodging the creature's attacks while the ninja countered with powerful strikes. Together, they wove a dance of battle, Aiko's heart racing with each near miss. Finally, seizing an opening, Aiko launched herself at the guardian, her dagger aimed for its heart. The ninja followed suit, their combined strength overwhelming the creature. With a final, desperate strike, they brought the guardian to its knees. Panting heavily, they stood over the defeated foe. The guardian's dark energy began to dissipate, revealing a glowing orb that floated above its remains. Aiko reached for it, and as she did, visions flooded her mind, images of her brother, trapped in a realm of shadows. "He's alive," she exclaimed, tears in her eyes. "But he's still in danger." The ninja placed a hand on her shoulder. "We must act quickly. The path to him lies beyond this temple, through the veil of shadows." With determination igniting within her, Aiko nodded. They would face whatever awaited them, united by their purpose. Together, they would find Kenji and confront the darkness that threatened to consume him, and the forest itself. With the guardian defeated and the orb's light flickering in her hands, Aiko felt a newfound strength coursing through her veins. The visions of her brother flashed vividly in her mind, his laughter, his encouragement, and finally, his face, etched with fear in a dark, twisted realm. "Let's go," she said, determination setting her jaw, as she turned to the ninja. "We have to reach him before it's too late." The ninja nodded, his expression serious. "The Veil of Shadows is a dangerous passage. Once we enter, we must rely on each other completely. Stay alert." As they exited the temple, the forest around them felt charged, the air heavy with anticipation. They followed a narrow path illuminated by the faint glow of the orb, which pulsed in rhythm with Aiko's heartbeat. After a few minutes, they reached the Veil of Shadows. It was an ethereal curtain of darkness, swirling and shifting as if alive. Aiko felt a chill run down her spine, but the thought of Kenji propelled her forward. "Together," the ninja said, grasping her hand. They stepped through the veil, the world around them transforming into a shadowy landscape. The ground beneath them was soft and uneven, cloaked in a mist that made it hard to see. Strange whispers filled the air, tugging at Aiko's mind, trying to distract her from her purpose. "Focus on your brother," the ninja instructed, sensing her hesitation. Ignore the voices. As they moved deeper into the shadows, Aiko spotted fleeting figures in the mist, lost souls wandering aimlessly, their faces twisted in despair. She felt a pang of sorrow for them, but pressed on, her eyes scanning for any sign of Kenji. Suddenly, the mist parted, revealing a vast chasm filled with swirling darkness. On the other side, Aiko caught a glimpse of a figure, a boy trapped in chains of shadow. It was Kenji. Kenji! Aiko shouted, desperation in her voice. She moved toward the edge of the chasm, but a surge of energy erupted from the darkness, creating a barrier that pushed her back. Stay behind me, the ninja commanded, stepping forward. He raised his sword, channeling his energy. I will break the barrier. As he focused, the shadows writhed and twisted, resisting his efforts. Aiko felt helpless, watching as the darkness fought back against the ninja's power. Find a way to connect with him, he shouted, gritting his teeth. You must call to him. Drawing on her memories of her brother, Aiko closed her eyes and concentrated. Kenji. I'm here. You have to fight. Remember our dreams, our adventures. You're stronger than this. The shadows around Kenji wavered at the sound of her voice. A flicker of light broke through the darkness, and she could see him straining against the chains, his eyes wide with recognition. Aiko, he cried, desperation mingling with hope. I knew you'd come. The ninja, sensing the shift, focused even harder. Keep calling to him. Kenji, you have to believe. We'll get you out. Aiko continued, her voice unwavering. The shadows flickered violently as Kenji summoned his strength. The chains began to crack and weaken, but the barrier still held firm. Aiko could see her brother's struggle, and with every ounce of her being, she urged him on. Don't give up. You're not alone. With one final surge, Kenji shouted, Aiko, and the chains shattered, releasing him from their grip. He stumbled forward, and Aiko felt a rush of joy as she saw him break free. But just then, the barrier surged back, intensifying as dark tendrils lashed out, seeking to reclaim him. Quickly, the ninja shouted. We must act now. Grab my hand. Aiko called, extending her arm toward Kenji. With a leap, he crossed the chasm just as the ninja struck the barrier with his sword, creating a crack of light that pulsed through the darkness. Kenji grasped Aiko's hand, and they pulled him through just as the shadows lashed out in fury. The moment they crossed the threshold, the barrier shattered, and the darkness began to recede. The mist around them lightened, and they found themselves standing on solid ground, free from the veil's grasp. Breathing heavily, Aiko, Kenji, and the ninja shared a moment of relief. But their victory was short-lived, as the forest trembled and a low growl echoed in the distance. What was that? Kenji asked, fear creeping into his voice. The forest is angry, the ninja replied, drawing his sword again. We must hurry back before it unleashes its fury. Together, they began to run, navigating the winding paths of the forest, but the ground shook violently beneath them. The shadows twisted, forming into monstrous shapes that pursued them. Stay together, the ninja ordered. Don't look back. As they raced through the dark trees, Aiko felt the weight of the forest pressing down on them, determined to reclaim what it had lost. But she also felt the strength of her brother beside her, and the ninja's unwavering resolve. They burst into the clearing where the temple stood, and the forest's wrath seemed to pause. We can hold them off here, the ninja declared. Aiko, Kenji, stay close. With renewed purpose, they prepared to face the darkness together, ready to protect their home and each other against whatever horrors the dark forest had in store. The clearing around the temple buzzed with tension as Aiko, Kenji, and the ninja formed a defensive circle. The shadows that had once felt distant now surged forward, coalescing into dark figures that writhed with malice. Aiko could feel their presence, a chill creeping down her spine. What do we do now? Kenji asked, his voice steadying but tinged with concern. We fight, the ninja replied, his voice resolute. The forest wants to reclaim you, Kenji. We must not let it. As the first shadow lunged at them, the ninja moved with incredible speed, his sword slicing through the darkness. Aiko watched in awe, his movements fluid and precise, as he dispatched the creature with ease. Follow my lead, he shouted, turning to Aiko and Kenji. Stay close, and don't lose focus. Aiko nodded, her heart racing. She felt a surge of determination as she glanced at her brother. Together, she said, and Kenji responded with a firm nod. More shadows emerged from the trees, swirling like smoke and forming into grotesque shapes. Aiko gripped her dagger tightly, feeling the weight of her fear, but also the strength of her resolve. As the next shadow attacked, Aiko stepped forward, mirroring the ninja's stance. With a deep breath, she launched herself at the creature, her blade flashing through the air. It struck true, and the shadow dissipated with a hiss. Good, the ninja encouraged. Keep moving. Kenji followed suit, finding his footing beside Aiko. He swung a makeshift weapon, a sturdy branch he had picked up, at another advancing shadow. The impact surprised him, but he quickly learned to adapt, feeling the rush of adrenaline. Watch out! Aiko shouted, pointing as a larger shadow lunged at Kenji. With a swift motion, the ninja intervened, slashing through the dark form and allowing Kenji to dodge. Stay sharp, he said, keeping an eye on their surroundings. The shadows continued to press in, relentless and hungry. Aiko felt the darkness clawing at her resolve, but the warmth of her brother's presence beside her grounded her. They fought side by side, the bond between them strengthening with every blow. As they battled, Aiko noticed the ninja becoming more focused, as if drawing on an inner strength. He suddenly raised his sword, chanting an incantation under his breath. A brilliant light emanated from the blade, pushing back the shadows that dared to approach. This is the forest's true weakness, he declared, glancing at Aiko and Kenji. Light? We need to create a beacon. Aiko and Kenji exchanged a determined look. What do we do? Kenji asked. Combine your energy with mine, the ninja instructed. Focus on your bond. Let it shine through. As shadows closed in, Aiko grasped Kenji's hand, closing her eyes. She concentrated on their connection, the memories they shared, the laughter and the love that had always been their anchor. Kenji mirrored her, tapping into the warmth of their childhood and the strength of their family ties. Together, they poured their energy into the orb that had guided them. The light began to pulse, brighter with each moment, merging with the ninja's own radiance. Now, the ninja shouted, directing their energy outward. With a burst of brilliance, a wave of light surged from the trio, scattering the shadows and illuminating the clearing. The darkness shrieked as it retreated, dissipating into wisps that fluttered away like smoke. We did it! Kenji exclaimed, exhilarated. Not yet, the ninja cautioned, as the ground beneath them trembled. The forest is not finished with us. From the depths of the woods, a colossal shadow emerged, a monstrous creature, its form shifting and swirling with darkness, towering over them like a nightmare given life. Prepare yourselves, the ninja warned, raising his sword in defiance. The creature roared, a sound that echoed through the trees, causing the very ground to shake. Aiko felt fear prick at her heart, but she held her ground. We can't back down now, she shouted, rallying her courage. With a nod, Kenji gripped his branch, his fear transforming into determination. Together, the ninja charged forward, sword raised high, leading the charge against the beast. Aiko and Kenji followed closely, ready to stand with him against the encroaching darkness. As they engaged the creature, Aiko and Kenji fought with everything they had, their bond giving them strength. The ninja moved with unparalleled agility, striking at the creature's vulnerable spots. Aim for its heart, he shouted. That's where its power lies. Aiko and Kenji maneuvered to flank the beast, finding openings in its defenses. The light they had created flickered around them, shielding them from the darkness that sought to engulf them. With one final surge of energy, Aiko raised her dagger high, Kenji striking with his branch at the same moment. They coordinated their attack perfectly, driving their weapons toward the creature's heart. As their strikes landed, the darkness howled, the creature's form disintegrating into a cascade of shadowy fragments. The light erupted, enveloping them in warmth and brilliance, and with a final roar, the monster vanished entirely. Breathing heavily, Aiko, Kenji, and the ninja stood amidst the remnants of the shadows, the forest growing still around them. "We did it," Kenji whispered, astonishment etched on his face. "Yes," the ninja replied, a hint of a smile breaking through his stoic demeanor. "But the forest will always have its challenges. You must remain vigilant." Aiko turned to her brother, tears of relief and joy streaming down her face. "We are together again," she said, embracing him tightly. "Yes," Kenji replied, holding her close. "And we are stronger than before." The ninja watched them, a sense of pride swelling within him. "Remember, your bond is a light that can overcome any darkness. Cherish it, and never let it fade." As dawn broke, casting warm rays over the forest, Aiko, Kenji, and the ninja emerged from the shadows, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Together, they would continue to protect their home and one another, for the darkness would never truly be vanquished, but with their strength, they could face it, no matter what. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the trees, Aiko, Kenji, and the ninja stood in the clearing, the remnants of the battle still fresh in their minds. The air felt lighter, the oppressive weight of the shadows lifting as nature began to awaken around them. "What happens now?" Kenji asked, brushing dirt off his clothes. The dawn's light seemed to rejuvenate him, sparking a sense of hope. "We return to the village," the ninja replied, sheathing his sword. "But you both must remain vigilant. The dark forest is always changing, and its magic is unpredictable." Aiko nodded, determination coursing through her. "We'll protect our village. Together." As they started back through the forest, Aiko felt a newfound connection to the land around her. The whispers that once filled her with dread now felt more like distant echoes of wisdom. She glanced at her brother, relieved to have him by her side again. "I'm sorry I worried you," Kenji said, his voice softening. "I didn't mean to get lost. I thought I could handle it." Aiko smiled, her heart swelling with affection. "You're not alone anymore. We are in this together." The ninja led the way, his senses alert to any potential threats. The trio moved quickly, but Aiko couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was still watching them. Every rustle of leaves seemed to whisper secrets, every shadow held a promise of danger. As they approached the village's edge, the trees began to thin, and the familiar sounds of life returned, the laughter of children, the calling of merchants. Aiko felt a rush of relief. They had made it back. But just as they stepped into the clearing outside the village, a sudden chill swept through the air. The sky darkened, and the wind howled ominously. "Stay close," the ninja commanded, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the horizon. Before they could react, a swirling mass of shadows erupted from the forest, coalescing into a form that towered over them, an embodiment of darkness, even larger than the creature they had just defeated. Its eyes glowed like burning coals, and it seemed to pulse with a life of its own. "No!" Aiko gasped, dread washing over her. "Not again." "This is the true heart of the forest's darkness," the ninja said, gripping his sword tightly. "It's come for retribution." "What do we do?" Kenji asked, his voice trembling. "We fight," the ninja replied, resolve hardening his features. "But this time, we must harness the light you created before, together." Aiko felt the fear creeping back, but she knew they had to act. "We can do this. We have to believe." They formed a circle, each grasping hands. The ninja closed his eyes, drawing upon the energy of the forest, the bond between them sparking a radiant light. Aiko concentrated, remembering the strength of her brother's love, the warmth of their shared laughter. Focus, the ninja urged. Let the light flow through you. The orb they had created before began to flicker back to life, pulsing with brilliance. Shadows recoiled at its glow, but the dark figure advanced, roaring in anger. With a united shout, they directed their energy outward. The light exploded from their hands, a wave of pure radiance that surged toward the creature. The darkness writhed, fighting against the light, but Aiko felt their bond growing stronger. Push it back, she cried, pouring every ounce of her heart into the attack. The radiant energy met the dark figure with a thunderous clash. For a moment, it seemed as though the darkness would overpower them, but then, something shifted. Aiko could feel the light responding to her determination, growing brighter, as it surged forward. With one final effort, they pushed the light deeper into the heart of the creature. A brilliant explosion of energy erupted, illuminating the forest and driving back the shadows. The dark figure howled in agony, its form fracturing as the light enveloped it, shattering it into thousands of shimmering particles that scattered like stars into the dawn sky. As silence fell over the clearing, the three of them stood breathless, the warmth of the sun returning as the darkness dissipated. Aiko and Kenji exchanged stunned looks, both overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment. We did it, Kenji whispered, incredulous. Yes, the ninja said, a rare smile breaking through his stoic demeanor. You've not only defeated the darkness, you've strengthened the bond that protects this land. As they caught their breath, the villagers began to emerge from their homes, drawn by the light and the commotion. Faces filled with relief and gratitude surrounded Aiko and Kenji. What happened? One villager asked, eyes wide with wonder. The darkness is gone, Aiko replied, her voice steady. We'll protect our village from it. The villagers erupted into cheers, celebrating the return of peace. Aiko felt a wave of warmth wash over her. She had faced the shadows and emerged victorious. But the ninja's expression grew serious. This victory is only a moment in time. The forest will always be a place of balance. You must remain vigilant. Aiko nodded, understanding the weight of his words. We will. Together, we can face whatever comes next. As the sun rose higher in the sky, painting the world in golden hues, Aiko and Kenji knew their journey was far from over. But with the strength of their bond and the guidance of their newfound ally, they were ready for whatever challenges awaited them in the dark forest and beyond.